before we kick off, we have our amazing conference, our annual conference happening over 5 weeks. And every single day, every single weekday, excuse me, we will have 3 different sessions, most of them different types of webinars, some networking sessions, but it's all on the theme of Awake, Aware, Arise. And as usual, it's a free event. So please, please, please share it far and wide with your friends, your colleagues, your networks, your social media, because it's going to be amazing. And we're excited for all our speakers. Please take a look at the website. The website should open for all of you actually when you leave this webinar. So it's awakeawarearise.com. But either way, you should be able to get it. So please come to our conference and tell your friends. And now I'm going to stop sharing because we have a couple special guests with us today. Tracy and Drayvon, or Drayvon and Tracy, equality. Drayvon is an ontology expert fanboy. I don't know what the right word is because he lives and breathes ontology. And he's been running this super interesting beta program that he has developed around ontology. And we thought, wouldn't it be amazing to offer this as a full-on coach training? To which Drayvon said, yeah, of course. And both Drayvon and Tracy are our alumni. And the end result is that they are launching an ontology-based ACTP program that is starting in a few weeks. And we invited them here today to tell you a little bit about it. And I know many of you already are credentialed coaches, which is great. But you may have friends and neighbors and colleagues who are not. And if what Tracy and Drayvon talk about sounds appealing, which I think it will, please tell your friends and colleagues and connect them to Coacharya directly or have them email me. You all know my email. We would love to have them as part of our community. So Tracy and Drayvon, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Magda. I'll just go first for a couple of minutes before I ask Tracy to come in, because Tracy has been on this journey for the last few months, first as a participant and now as a co-facilitator, and I would really love for her to share. What I would like to share is that for me, ontology has been a big part of my life for the last 15 years. And once I started the coaching journey, I really got interested in the possibility of marrying ontology with coaching, because essentially both are subjects which deal with the being of a person. And I think the being of a coach is a very important kind of a holding space in the coaching, relationship with a client. So it became very interesting for me to try and see how this can be matched. Particularly why? Because ontology is a subject which is really focuses on it being devoid of definitions and descriptions and information, a lot of information, models, tools, frameworks. It's more about really a deep dive and connecting with the space and the skill sets that are required in the coaching space. So it gives a chance for the participants who are going to be on this journey to really get to know themselves very, very deeply. And getting to know themselves deeply, I would mean that exploring those spaces where we really don't know much about ourselves, and trying to really establish what are those patterns, the default ways of being, which we all human beings, work from. And getting to know that space is a very important reason why this sounds extremely attractive for me, because once we get to know those patterns, it becomes easy for us to see those patterns when we are holding that space as a coach for the client, because we get to see those patterns even in the client. And really then becoming that container becomes very, very useful. So this is what the journey is mostly likely to be, other than the fact that we are going to have a lot of information. We are going to have all the frameworks and the competencies, but yes, it will be a sharp focus on really the kind of container that we are as coaches, and by a deep down knowing ourselves. Tracy, you can share whatever came up for you in your journey. I'm sure that will be more interesting.
Thank you. Yes, so most of my life really was spent measuring myself against others. And it's only been the last couple of years that I've really started looking within. And that started through meditation and a lot of self-coaching. But what this study of ontology has done for me is really deepened that and allowed myself a functional access to who I am. So when I'm in the midst of it all, I can kind of pull within and be who I want to be. And it's also really helped me be aware of certain patterns in my life that before used to just trigger me into behaviors. And I would look back and think, oh, I did that. And sometimes even realize why. But now I have that realization as it's happening, and it's helped me be able to shift out of that into being the way I would like to be versus the way that I'm programmed to be. And helped me be a lot more authentic as well. It's changed my communication with other people significantly, but also really changed my communication with myself. And that's for me personally. As a coach, it's amazing. I wouldn't say that it's changed me necessarily as a coach. It's just made coaching a lot more natural for me. Kind of deepened my coaching skills, and it's helped me again be aware when things are coming into the coaching space that are coming from, let's say, certain worldviews or perceptions that I have, so that I can see them and shift them aside and really be there and be holding a really authentic and whole space for the client. And it's also, I find, made a difference just in the way that I listen. I feel like I'm able to shift between certain types of listening a little more naturally. And so, yeah, I'm really, really grateful that I started on this journey thanks to Drayvon, and I'm loving the marriage between ontology and coaching. They're just such a good fit together, and I'm really excited to explore that with our learners soon. And we'll be popping the information into the chat as well about our upcoming course. So thanks for holding this space for us to talk about this.
Thanks, Tracy. Thanks, Drayvon. One of the things that Drayvon did not mention, which I would like to mention, is that he trained under a guy called Werner Hart. Many of you may not even have heard about him. And I come from the generation when Werner Hart was a hero. He is really the fundamental proponent of ontology. Today, everybody calls everything ontology. Like Drayvon was talking to me this morning, NLP is ontology, and transaction analysis ontology, everything is ontology, transformation is ontology. Part of it is all true, because the word ontology in Greek means the study of the being. So everything is a study of the being. If you sit down and meditate, it's ontology. But if you want to really go into the essence of what ontology is, the way of the being and how it is done, and I have gone through the content that Drayvon and developed along with Tracy, it's probably one of the purest forms of ontological reasoning as applied to coaching that I've come across. And so those of you who join this program, you would be quite privileged to be able to learn about it in the purest sense of what ontology is, rather than anybody and everybody calling everything ontology. But in a sense, what we're going to talk about, Priya and I, is also ontology, but that's in a very different sense. So I wouldn't want to belittle that as well. At the end of the day, when you are studying the being of the person, you're really looking at a dimension which is other than your mind and body and matter. You're really looking at pure energy. In a sense, ontology is also a study of that energy space in which we are, which Drayvon referred to as a container. So in fact, I would have never thought about it, but in a program that we are running on systemic coaching, there was a person who said something, you guys are talking about energy all the time. At least I keep talking about energy all the time. That's pretty stupid of me. But so I don't understand what is energy. And I was for a moment dumbfounded, because that never occurred to me, that there's a person who does not understand what energy is. But then I realized that it's very possible that everybody may have their own interpretations of what energy is. So very, very quickly, I just would like you, for the sake of my understanding as well as Priya's, for you to put down in the chat box, what is that you understand from this word energy? What the heck does it mean? If at all it means anything to you. So we'll wait for a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes, maybe 30 seconds or whatever, and wait for you to put down on the chat box what you understand by the word energy. Abundance of positive emotions. Okay. Good starting point. Don't think too much about it. If you think too much about it, it's not about energy, it's about your cognition. Strength of feeling, full of emotions, power, energy equals life, drive, energy is managing ourselves. Chi, heightened state of awareness, the force that initiates action, space, capacity to unleash. Okay, Priya, as you're going on about it, we talked about it earlier. So what do you think is energy?
So for me, when you say energy, it's at a physical level, it's almost like a vibration, a frequency at which one is operating. It allows for other things to flow through. And to me, it's also a very resonating force. It's not a static force. It's very resonating, and it resonates right through my body. So it's not one word, but yeah, that sort of explains.
No, it can never be one word. Okay, of all the various definitions I see here, there's someone who had put down, let me read the name,
Energy, the currency of the universe.
Naval Center, E equals MC square. Let me start there. Because in a sense, that's right. That's what energy is. Okay. Let's look at first the quantum science part of it. Quantum science, which Einstein looked at in a very macro sense, a cosmic sense, when you talked about E equals MC square. Any of you who've done primary school physics these days would know that C square is just a constant. So if you take the constant out, E equals M, which means energy is matter. Matter is energy. They are completely correlated. But what's the difference? The difference, as quantum science tells us, is this. Each one of us, because of the fact that we are built up from subatomic particles, and we know that from quantum mechanics, the subatomic particles are in dual state. They are both in the wave state and they are in a particle state. When they are a particle, they are localized. And when they are a wave, they are not localized. They are pervading. And this is what is a classic kind of dilemma, if it were to be termed that way, is the Heisenberg theory of uncertainty, which says that you cannot measure both the position as well as the movement of a subatomic particle, because once you start locating it, it becomes a particle where it is fixed. And the moment it becomes a wave, it no longer has a point to measure with, but it has got a movement, a momentum. So when you look at yourself, each one of us, therefore, because we are built up of subatomic particles, whether you like it or not, and therefore 99.99% of us is empty, which is true, including our brains are usually empty. We only believe that because we are so full of it, we think that we have so much of energy and power and everything. We have nothing. In real time kind of positioning, we are made up of subatomic particles. 99.99% of it is empty. When we are a particle, then we behave like the material being that we are, the mind, body, the material part. But when we decide to be the wave, then in that case, we are in ripples, we are in waves, we move, like Priya said, we are all pervasive. To me, it's a definition as simple as that. So when a basic question is being raised as to who am I, first we need to understand, do I want to be a particle, which is a mind and matter, which then means that we are an ego being, we are in a mindful state, or do we want to be something beyond that, which for want of a better word, we might call it an energy, where we are in the form of a wave. We are free to move wherever we want. We are free to disperse. And then, as many of you said, then we get into the intangible state of emotions. rather than the more tangible cognitive state of thinking. For many, automatically the word energy brings up this connotation of, in a sense, what I would call the thinking state, a limiting state, and so on and so forth. And we always try and see how within this space we are able to perform. But when you get into an energy state, which is either through a meditative practice or by sheer awareness of the fact that we are energy, we transform ourselves. So one of the things that we would like to do in this particular program, the dialogue between me and Priya, I brought her in for two reasons. One is that Priya's, I think, the great-grandfather, he built a temple in a part of Kerala, which was based on the energy centers of the body. And I would like her to briefly explain what the meaning of that is, what does it represent? And from there, we will move into a discussion on how the energy centers are related to our emotions and how that correlates with the coaching practice that we are all in. So Priya, over to you.
Yeah, so recently I became aware that there was a temple which was built on top of a hill. I hail from Kerala, a town, a state in the south of India. And the temple is built in such a way, it also aligns to the energy centers of a human body. And we would find that the center, or the sanctorium as we call it in a temple architecture, that's where either an idol or the main idol is placed, is really an energy center where in a way it was an attempt to make the unmanifest manifest, so to say. So the head is the crown is of a human body, if you look at it, is placed at the center, sanctum sanctorium, and every part of the body plays a role in how the temple architecture is built. So you will find that there is a huge, there's a huge steeple sort of structure, which really represents the spine of the human body. And there are certain figurines which are placed in certain parts of the temple, which also takes care of certain other energy levels, like 9 of them. So there are many things that go into how the temple has been built. And essentially what I want to share is that it has been built based on how if a human body was lying, the energy centers there. And in fact, in a lot of Kerala homes, Ram, in the ancestral homes, there are certain rooms, there are certain places in a house wherein there's no idol, nothing, but it's a place where energy is concentrated. And if you actually step into those rooms, you can feel the vibration, you can feel the energy. And I felt a similar such experience I had even when I visited St. Paul's Cathedral in London. I was sharing. There was just a certain vibration of energy that connects to you in those places, because I feel that the energy in the universe is harnessed to that particular space. So it was, and we visit this temple every year, and it just gives all of us a lot of peace of mind, just the space, the energy in the space. Yeah.
Thanks, Priya. They want to know where the name of the temple, and you may not be able to post photograph, but I think there is a website that you mentioned. I actually did visit that website. Yeah. You can post that. So let me take it from there, from what you said. What Priya mentioned, this is one temple where there is a specificity that it was built around certain concepts of the chakra energies, which is what the word chakra means as far as the scriptural understanding is concerned. The chakra actually means a wall of energy, a wheel of energy, if you want to put it that way. And it's all about energy. And most of the temples, every single temple, as far as the Vedic tradition is concerned, all the great temples of, especially the southern part of India, They are built on the concept of what is called the Mandala Purusha. The Mandala Purusha is depicted in temple architecture. I did some research on it at a point in time. Priya is doing some work on that now. It's about a person lying down, and usually temples in India are built either facing the east or facing the north. Facing the south and the west are generally avoided because these two are supposed to be more the sunsets in the south, and for whatever reason, the east is preferred to the west. So the Mandala Purusha would normally lie north to south or east to west, with the head facing the east or the north. The foot of the Mandala Purusha, when it is drawn, would be the entrance tower of the temple, which is called the Gopuram. And many of you are familiar with Hindu temples. You will find that there is something called the Dvajastamba, which is a huge pillar which is built. That is at the Naval Chakra. And then as you go inside, there are certain parts of the temple which correspond to the heart center. And the place where the idol is located, that's usually on the place which is either the third eye or the Sahasrara, which is the crown center. That is where the Vimana or the steeple that Priya talked about, let's say equivalent of that would be in a church, it'll be where the steeple rises with a cross on top. Similarly, in a temple, that is where it would be. And the beauty of that is this Mandala Purusha dimensions are accurate to millimeters. And the idol is exactly in proportion to that. So at the point where the crown center lies and the third eye center lies, where the idol is placed vertically up, the dimensions are exact. Of course, they are multiplied by many, many times. God knows how many times. It could be 1,000 times in very, very large temples. It could be 100 times. It could be in a smaller temple 10 times or 20 times. But this is such an exact science. And I worked with some of the sculptors. I worked with people who are very familiar with this. And it's an amazing science and it's an amazing art. Now, the concept of the whole thing comes from the understanding of the body as not merely at that time, if you really go deep into Ayurveda and stuff, there was an understanding about the cellular structure, about plasma, about what is called the dhatur, the 7 types of matter which make up your body. In addition, there were these system of virtual nerves, as you might call them, which in the Chinese traditional medicine, it's called the meridians. Some of you who may be familiar with that. And it's developed art and science in the Chinese culture. In the Indian system of Ayurveda or even martial arts like Kalaripayattu and so on, this is called the system of nadis. These are probably, there are 10,000 of them across the body, different kinds of nerves. They may not be the exact nerves as we know them from physiology and anatomy, but they are virtual pathways of movement from the brain to the tips of the toes, as it were. And within those nadis, generally, there are 108 points which are considered to be energy centers, of which 7 are known as the primary chakras, and which is where the whole study of the chakras come up. And these 7 chakras, the top of the head is 1 point, which is really the end point, which is, in a sense, not really the top of the head as I am pointing out here, but it's more of the back. It's the top of the spine, as it were, because the spine is the central pathway for this energy. The lowest point of the spine, which is almost at the perineum point, where our trunk meets the body, as it were, that is called the point of Muladhara, or the root chakra, where the Kundalini energy, the internal energy of our energy, as it were, which is a holographic image of the larger cosmic energy that resides. And typically this is represented as the 3.5 coiled serpent. And when it is aroused, when it is energized, it moves up through the spinal column, through a virtual nerve called the Shushumna, which reaches up to the top of the spine. All this seemed very fanciful, even about, I would say 20 years ago, 30 years ago. There were people in this webinar earlier when I had talked about it. They said, is there an evidence to show this? And I would have said that if you had asked me about 20 years ago when I started studying this, no, I don't know whether there's really an evidence. But today, there is a lot of corroboratory evidence that has been provided, which may be similar to, like, for example, how much we measure. There are subatomic particles like the bosons and so on, which are there purely from theoretical physics in terms of mathematical equations, but they have never been shown to be existing, but we do know that they all exist. We all believe, thanks to Stephen Hawking and other people, that today there is something called a wormhole, which has never been proven to exist, but theoretically shown to exist, and that is considered to be absolutely scientific. Even the equation E equals mc square has been only proved mathematically. It has never been established, for those of you who may want to get scientific evidence to all this. In the same way, there's a lot of corroboratory evidence that today is available. Even in Bangalore, where I am, there are institutions like the Vivekananda Yoga Institute called SVYASA, the NIMHANS, which is a National Mental Health Institute, the Indian Institute of Science. They have equipment today with which they are able to work with, because of the funding constraints, work more with meditation and in relationship to meditation to actual change within our body structure in terms of physiology, even in terms of neurochemicals being released. And there is very, very minor difference, very thin line of difference between meditation and chakras, as I would explain a little later. And there are institutions today like Herbert Benson in Harvard Medical College, who has done tremendous work in various forms of meditation and showed how these actually affect our physiology. There is work that has been done in Wisconsin University and so on. There is a tremendous amount of what is being done today, if only we would care to look. But just because this comes from the scriptures, and the oldest of the Upanishads, one of the oldest scriptures in the world, 5,000 years old, the Isavasya Upanishad, starts with this particular sentence, Isavasyam idam sarvam. That means everything is energy. And this was propounded 5,000 years before Einstein. But the fact is that that is never put down in such scientific manner like Einstein did. And Einstein was a great believer in spirituality. And later, those of you who would like to know more about this, you can listen to this conversation between David Bohm, who was one of the greatest quantum physicists who ever lived. He died some years ago. And he was a person who actually connected between the theory of relativity of Einstein with what was called the quantum physics. The theory of relativity of Einstein was about the larger cosmic macrocosm, whereas the quantum physics dealt with subatomic particles. For literally about 50 years, people struggled, and they said these two do not meet. Einstein was talking about something else. Heisenberg and others were talking about something else. But David Bohm was a man who linked them together through what he called implicit energy and so on. And he said that some of my greatest awareness in this came through in my discussions with J. Krishnamurti, who was an extremely well-known Indian philosopher. And he was part of the Theosophical Society at one point in time. And these conversations are actually available. And I have gone through some of them. In YouTube, if you go, Conversations of David Bohm with J. Krishnamurti, which is really where science meets spirituality. So many things, like what I said about the wave and the particle. In fact, I'm quoting from, I'm copying, I'm sort of shamelessly plagiarizing David Bohm, because he said that people often tell me that there's something wrong with me. I believe sometimes I'm a wave, sometimes I'm a particle. So I start focusing on one thing, but I cannot focus on that forever. Suddenly I start floating all over the place, I expand. And in a very shameless way, let me put it that way. That's what I feel many times, because I start looking at something and suddenly I'm all over the place because I don't feel I can be contained as a particle. I am almost bursting out in terms of various thoughts which come up for me. And there may be many of you who are that way. So this interrelation between the wave and the particle in terms of how the subatomic particles with a larger cosmic connection happens, this was very, very clearly established in our Upanishads. And this was a concept of what was used, what was called as the Atman and the Brahman. The Atman is our inner energy space, inner consciousness, inner awareness. These terms were used pretty much interchangeably. And the word for energy, which was in the Isavasya Upanishad, was called Isa. Now, unfortunately, this word got corrupted later into some form of a divinity, and it also became the Hebrew word Yesu, and from there into Jesus. So the Isa of Sanskrit, which meant pure energy, got converted into Jesus on one side of the Christianity, Judaism level, and to which today refers to gods and deities like Shiva and so on and so forth. But ultimately, what Hinduism believed in was that all these so-called deities, whoever the trinities and so on, are just metaphors for those energy. The entire set of Vedas, the Rig Veda, the Atharva, the Yajur, and the Samaveda, is about the natural elemental energies. And these were all expressed in forms people could understand. Indra became the god of thunder. Surya became the god of sun. Yama became the god of justice and death, and so on and so forth. They connected everything that happened in our temporal life with these various deities. And today we don't understand that. We just blindly follow that something, this is a god, this is what we worship. The Hindu religion never ever worshipped a god. The Upanishads, originally there were 108 of them or 112 of them. Today there are about 12 known ones. And I have pretty much gone through all these 12. None of them make a mention of any god by name. They only talk about the energy. And very often, what they call the Mahavakyas, the great statements from these scriptures, Aham Brahmasmi or Tattvamasi and so on, they all refer to the fact that my energy, my internal energy, is the same as the cosmic energy. I am the same as that. Now, to distill that down into this concept of chakras, which are 7, 6 of them are really the so-called chakras, and Sahasrara, the top, is supposed to be the gateway. They lie along the spine, and they travel through what is called the Shushumna, the central nerve, virtual nerve. The chakras themselves are virtual energy points through these 7 energy points, 6 energy points to the topmost. Today, you just have to go to HeartMath and take a look at it, and there are more detailed stuff which is available. There is something called the vagal nervous system, which was considered to be one nerve which traveled from the top of the spine to lower down to the diaphragm. And about 10, 20 years ago, it was discovered this vagal nerve is not just one, it is actually 2. It is called the polyvagal nerve. One half of it, which is the left side of the polyvagal system, controls the parasympathetic part of the autonomous nervous system. And the right side of the vagal nerve controls the autonomous nervous system's sympathetic nervous system. And those of you who know your physiology and anatomy, the sympathetic nervous system is about our survival. It's about our reaction to any problem areas. It's a one that sort of takes care of production of things like cortisol, adrenaline, and so on, which stand us in good stead in terms of fighting against infections, in terms of energizing us to fight against any other problems that we may face. It excites us. And it is on the right side, and it works on the left side of the brain, which is our analytical brain, which is our thinking brain, which is our brain which makes things happen. The left side of the body, which is a polyvagal system of the parasympathetic system, is about the calming. It relaxes you. And it's a very, very simple technique. I teach it in my classes. And this was what my yoga teacher taught me some time ago. If you just close your right nostril with your left hand and you breathe through your left for a while, deep inhalation, holding, deep exhalation and holding, you will find yourself calming down. And if you do it the other way, if you hold your left nostril this way, and then you inhale through your right, deeply hold it, exhale it, and so on, you will excite your left side. So if you're really preparing yourself for any kind of activity, be it a meeting, be it something else physical, be it something where you need to concentrate, or you're driving, you do not want to feel drowsy. If you're feeling drowsy, to wake you up, try this next time. If you don't believe me, you just have to hold it like this and breathe for about a few minutes through the right nostril. And similarly, when you wish to go to sleep and you are a kind of person who's an insomniac or you find it difficult to sleep, do it the other way, hold it this way and do it the left. These are some very, very simple exercises. And today, if you go through the heart mat details, these things are talked about as the polyvagal system, and they don't even relate it directly to the breathing part. But the two nerves that they talk about, the two polyvagal nerves, are what are called the Ida and Pingala, along with Sushumna. They form our central nervous system, along which the 7 chakras lie. So I'll just briefly describe to you a little bit. We will spend the next about 15, 20 minutes on this and on the emotions with Priya. And then for those of you who are interested, we can stay on and I can do a meditation exercise on chakra energization for you for another about 20 minutes if you wish. There are 7 chakras. As I said, the lowest point where the Kundalini energy is stored is called the root chakra, the Muladhara Chakra, which is at the perineum point, the bottommost point of the spine. The next one is called the sacral chakra, which is at generally the groin area, and called Swadishthana in Sanskrit. The first one is called Muladhara. The third one, which is on our navel area, is called the Manipuraka, and that is related usually to adrenaline, the hormone as well as the gland, adrenaline gland. The one next to it is the heart, the Anahata Chakra, which is generally linked to the thymus gland, and it is known, has been evidenced that by focusing on the Anahata Chakra and breathing through the Anahata Chakra, there are certain asanas and mudras which are practiced along with it for yoga. You can actually generate oxytocin, which is called the nurturing chemical, which many of you may know that it was usually associated with mothers who are lactating and so on. But today we know that it's that chemical which generates a sense of compassion and love and everything else within us, of nurture. The one after that above is the throat or the Vishuddhi Chakra, which is usually associated with thyroid. And the one above that is technically the last chakra, which is the third eye chakra, which is associated with pituitary, which is the master gland. In the chakra system, and this was known 5,000 years ago, the third eye controls all the other chakras. It's a master chakra, which is exactly the same as a pituitary. Those of you who know your physiology, in the HPA axis, pituitary is a P, which is related to the hypothalamus in the brain and adrenaline. So in times of either fight or flight, that kind of reaction, the hypothalamus senses it, especially the amygdala activates the pituitary, which in turn activates adrenaline to produce adrenaline and cortisol, which allows us to spring into action. And the final chakra is called the Sahasrara, which is the top of our head. For simplicity, we talk about it as a crown center, which is really the gateway. So in the spiritual exercise, it is said that the energy, the kinetic energy, which is lying dormant in the Muladhara Chakra, is the female energy, the feminine energy, the Shakti. And when she is aroused, she rises up, meet the potential energy, Shiva on top. In a sense, it's a culmination of the actuality and potentiality, if you want to look at it that way, from a principle of Aristotle and Socrates and people like that. It is also an integration of the potential and the kinetic energy coming together in an integrated fashion. I mean, these are all, there's far too much for me to cover in about an hour's time. It would take hours to discuss this. What is relevant here is the fact, which we can use in day-to-day interaction, that each of these chakras is related to a particular emotional energy as well. Because some of you put down there saying energy is about emotions. Absolutely true. The emotions are far more about energy than thoughts are, far more powerful. Because the first sensory reaction that happens when our sensory receptors, whether they are visual or auditory or any of them, they receive these impulses from outside, which are literally billions of bytes every second. They first activate the central brain, the limbic brain, and they activate the hypothalamus and the amygdala. And it's only through the amygdala, it passes on to the cognitive brain. So for those of you constantly arguing about which comes first, thinking or feeling, there's absolutely no doubt, even from neurology point of view, physiology point of view, that emotions come first and thinking comes next. The first energy sensation is from the emotions. The Muladhara, which is the lowermost point, is a point of survival. Those of you familiar with Maslow, it is the bottom of the pyramid as far as survival is concerned. It is about our greed, our desire. It's about, as a result of which, it is also linked with guilt and shame. These are the energies associated with the Muladhara. The next one, the Swadishthana, is about our fear, which is a mirror image of desire. It's constantly the fear of loss. I desire something, but I am also worried I might lose it. I want wealth, I'm also afraid I might lose it. I want progeny, I might lose that. I want relationship, I might lose that. So these two chakras are very, very closely interlinked. And they are both the primal drivers for our existence, for our emotional energies. The one above, the Manipuraka, the Naval Center, is about anxiety. It's a little diluted. The same fear is, it's not so much of phobia, it's not so much an obsession, but it is an anxiety, it's a worry, and it is really the stress center. I usually refer to this as a corporate chakra. You come into your office and your stomach acts up, the Manipuraka acts up. And this is very true. The moment you face somebody you don't like, you have a feeling in your stomach, in your gut. And that is really the emotional energy at the Manipuraka, which is acting up, it is getting blocked. And as you move up, you come to the heart center, which is a point at which the internal self expands and meets the external world, the external reality. The Anahata is all about our ability to relate. It's about love, it's about compassion. It's also about validation. And it's where it affects us in terms of relationship. I'll come to that shortly. And then we move up, it's about the Vishuddhi, the throat chakra. It's about the way that we communicate, how we express ourselves. It's the fifth level of Maslow, or the fourth level of Maslow, I'm sorry. It's about the cognitive, our constant desire to place ourselves in comparison to other people. And my dad is bigger than yours. My office is bigger than yours. All that kind of a stuff. We are so insecure that we feel the only way that we can feel better than another person is to cut the other person down. And that is what happens when a blocked Vishuddhi. And then we move up to this point, the third eye, which is a point of wisdom. But it also can be, when it is blocked, it can be a high control energy. It's a kind of space where the dictators get stuck in. Every single dictator, you can actually predict that their energy level was stuck here, because instead of using it for a purpose of helping humanity, they got into a position of wanting to control and dictate to other people. And when you move beyond that, it goes to the topmost point, which is a fulfillment point. The Sahasrara, the word actually means 1,000 lotus, that you reach that point of energy, you feel as if you are absolutely bursting with energy. But also when you are blocked, It can be a source of discontent. I have everything. I have wealth, I have power, I have whatever I want, relationship, but I'm still unhappy. One of the programs that we are going to run from end of August, those of you interested may like to join that. Magda must have announced it. It's about how do you find this? It's a Sahasrara when it is blocked. Everything else may still be somewhat clear. You become discontent. You get confused. You don't have a purpose. You don't have a meaning. So this is the way that the emotions travel on the chakras from one point to another. Okay? I'll take a breather. I'll stop here for a moment. I'll pass it on to Priya in terms of probably trying to link them up with how do we, okay, just to give you a thing, in terms of somatics, when I work with somebody and the person says, look, I'm having a lot of anxiety. I'm having a lot of stress. Next time around, just ask them a question. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and tell me, where does this stress lie? If it's truly a stress, it would be in your gut region. But very often people will say it is in my chest, it's in my heart region. It's not really anxiety, it's worry. It is to do with a fear of loss of relationship. It's about invalidation. Believe you me, this is one of the most powerful truth testers or light testers, light detectors, or whatever you might want to call it. And I can work with anybody. I can guarantee that. I'm willing to challenge anybody for that. That if you are truthful to yourself, I work with you from a somatics perspective. It is possible to figure out exactly from the space where you are experiencing a negative energy as to what emotion is bugging you. What is that emotion which is creating a block in you? This can be exceptionally useful in coaching when you use that. So if a coach is aware of the energy movements in the body, it is both ontological as well as a somatic. You're able to go very deep into the being level of the person by understanding about the energy, by understanding your own energy movements, and also on somatic. So I'll stop here for a moment and let Priya explain more of the emotional and coaching part of it.
Yeah, thanks, Ram. This reminds me of some of the sessions, and I'm sure all of you have had similar experiences. You know, sometimes you're in such a flow, the coach and the client. There is truly a lot of energy transfer one to the other. You can't really pinpoint and say what it is, but you'll find that you're in a flow, the two of you, as they call the dance in the moment, right? So many times you feel that. Many times you also feel that, you know, this session didn't go too well. There's something holding me back. And if you really look back and reflect after the session, you will be able to point out as to what was blocked for you in your body. So it's really bringing the awareness to the body. Now, as you know, if you're not very trained in this sort of, working with chakras, for us, I think the easiest part is to get in touch with our sensory perception, right? So the first point of contact is our body. So if, and that's how, if we were to get to work with our inner energy, we start with the outer, the gross body, which is sometimes yoga is one such, one such practice which allows you to move from the outer to the inner. Right? Most of us think of yoga as exercise and acrobatics even sometimes. It really is a window to get within. So, so through the body is when you can get into your being deep within to connect with your own energy. And these energy centers, the way I understand is it gives out, emanates energy as well as absorbs energy. Therefore, it creates a certain frequency. Yeah. And this impacts us in two levels. One is a physiological or the physical level, and one is at a consciousness level. So whenever you're working on the body, the mind comes along. And if you're more aware of your mind, then you will be also able to connect which part of your body is connected to that. So the energy is always moving around in our body, and therefore it changes the frequency. Right? So if you're operating at a low frequency, for example, in some ways it creates your reality. So it's like saying, you know, this is where I am, now find me, right? So all things at that level frequency finds you. Similarly, if you are at a very resonant frequency, you put out that, you know, you put out that frequency into the quantum field, and what you're giving out and what you're receiving is energy at that frequency. So there is so much of an interchange or exchange of energy between you and the ecosystem and the world around and the other person, right? So it's really fascinating for me to see how there's this constant flow of energy between people, within yourself. And if we can just pay attention, we'll be able to capture it. When we're talking about emotion also, Ram, I mean, I'm just reminded, what is emotion? It's really energy in motion, right? So emotions are flowing through your body. If you're able to catch that emotion, like Ram said, you know, before an exam, what you feel is butterflies in your stomach. So immediately it's at your gut, right? So you will be able to connect. And when you see the emotions flow through, for example, in a coaching conversation, we often ask the client, what are you feeling now? So if they're able to say, and if you ask them, where do you feel it? And get back to that space when at the end of the coaching conversation, they'll be able to see where it has moved. It's never constant. It's never in one place. It's only if you hold on to it that it stays in one place. So I find it very fascinating that, you know, the emotions, the body, the consciousness of the mind, it's in such a beautiful interconnected flow, not just within yourself, but you and others as well, Ram. I think you know the science behind it far more, but this is a fascinating field of study, really.
Yeah, Priya, a couple of things as you said this. Someone referred to Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. It's an amazing book, and I'm trying to get Bruce to come and speak at our conference if I can. We have Edgar Schein speaking, but not yet Bruce. He's amazing. He's one of my prime sources of reference, and he created, through his thoughts, this whole science of epigenetics, which reversed the way that we used to think, that behavior is led by our genes. In fact, he said your behavior influences your gene and your progeny. And today it's a science. And Candace Pert, sort of contemporary, she's no longer alive. She wrote this book called exactly what you're saying, Molecules of Emotion. And she was a person who should have won a Nobel Prize for that. And she was able to show that emotional energy is not transferred just through the nervous system as we were led to believe, but actually it is a cellular interaction. And those are molecules which travel through our blood. And which is where Mukti said something about panic attacks and brain and so on and so forth. But if you really understand more, and if you read deeper into heart math and stuff like that, today we know that there's a part of the heart which behaves like the brain. The polyvagal nerve goes through the heart. And in fact, everything that the brain does, the heart does in a simpler way, in a let's say miniaturized way. And that is why in Sanskrit, the word manas not only meant the brain and the mind, but also it meant the heart. They knew something more than what all of us did, and today heart math is discovering. They have those of you who wish to go more into it, go deeper into it. It talks about where heart transplants take place and the kind of disconnect that happens, and which sort of establishes these kind of things. So when Mukti says here, when a client is experiencing panic attacks, they will feel it in their heart, brain, gut, etc. Maybe not really. Nobody feels anything in the brain. Brain surgeons know that you don't feel anything in the brain. You can operate on the brain without the patient feeling anything at all. So nothing is felt in the brain, to be honest. But it depends on the kind of panic attack that you have, depending upon what energy, what emotional energy that it affects, where you feel it. If it's genuine fear, a phobia, a fear of survival, you feel it deep down in your groin space. And if it's somewhat less, if it is kind of a PTSD, which is wearing off, you feel it in your gut space. If it's relational, you feel it in your heart space. Now, if these are clinical and they are generated through the chemical imbalances, yes, you certainly need a psychiatrist. You need to work through them. But when they are not, it is still possible for a coach who is well trained, who would be able to do that. Anyway, I mean, Mukti says it's not breath, it's breath, not brain. You don't really feel pain in the breath. Breath is a vital energy, which if you know how to manage it, if you study pranayama, it can help you in terms of your breathing as well. So we make a lot of assumptions with some of these. I'm not saying I know everything. What I know is a fraction. But the more I work with yoga and tantra, and in fact, my journey in chakra started with tantra, which is extremely dangerous. It's a very ritualistic practice. And I had serious physical trauma. I nearly lost my eyes. If I hadn't lost my eyes, I might have lost my brains, actually. My brains would have got fried. And believe you me, this is real. I'm not joking. And people who have experimented with this, they know that. But there are yogic practices which are linked with, in terms of the asanas, the mudras, and pranayama, and so on and so forth. So putting it all together, you would be able to do it in a much better way. I was distracted by this comment of who makes the assessment. It becomes an ethical issue. Of course, it does become an ethical issue. So if you are ethical as a coach, you know probably at a point at which, yeah, I'm capable of working on it. If I feel that I cannot do it, then it is something that a psychiatrist or somebody should do. But it doesn't mean you give up saying that if somebody is having something, you don't even look at it first. That is not even scientific. So we can keep arguing on this point. Each of us has a point of view. I do not want to get into somebody else's sort of state of mind in terms of arguing that point. But what I would like to leave you with this is that there are several practices in terms of how you can influence the emotions that you feel, which are related to different points, especially apart things like desire, fear, etc. are one. Mostly, in my experience, I would say in 80% of the cases, when people come with emotional issues, there are usually various shades of worry, anxiety, or relational worries, invalidation, insecurity, or comparison with somebody else, I'm not feeling good enough, and so on and so forth. So usually it is in the torso. It is, the lower point is somewhere near your gut, stomach, moving up to your heart, moving up to your throat. Generally, when I question people, ask them, where is your discomfort? And they tell me, it is somewhere on top of my head. I don't even worry about it because it's just imaginary. It's not real. It is a cognitive kind of representation of your emotion. And there are some very simple techniques how you get over it, deep breathing techniques and so on and so forth. I don't want to go into detail. There are combinations of postures, which are asanas, breathing techniques, and mudras, the way that you hold your hand. Each one of them can influence a particular chakra in terms of doing that. These are some of it I might be dealing with in some detail in the Create Your Future kind of program. So yeah, the passcode for today is Kiwi, K-I-W-I, that is the password. I think Magda is still somewhere around. So yeah, this is, yeah, Kiwi. So at this point in time, for those of you who would like to stay, I don't know how many of you wish, I just would like to have a vote as well. I'm quite happy to close here at this point in time. But if any of you would like to go through a meditative exercise in chakra energization, or at least awareness of chakras, So if there are a sufficient number of people, I'm quite happy to continue. But if there are not enough people, I'm quite happy to close and do that. It saves me time as well if there are not sufficient number of people.
There are
Yeah.
quite a number of people, Ram, who are happy to stay.
Right. Okay. So let us start with that. We can have some 10 minutes after that if there are any questions to talk about. What I would request you is this. First of all, the pathway to the energy movement is the spine. So the most important aspect of your posture is your spine should be pretty straight. It should be vertical. Lying down is good, but the general dictum is it's very good to meditate while you are lying down, or it is good to meditate when you are sleeping, but it is pretty bad if you're sleeping while you are meditating. So invariably what happens if you start lying down and you meditate, you go to sleep. So we would prefer that you sit down. Please just follow my guided instructions. I'll take you through a guided meditation and you will, and let me know at the end of it, how do you feel? You can practice it on your own. It's not very difficult at all. So place your feet firmly on the ground wherever you are sitting in your chair, and place your hands in this position with, this is technically called the chin mudra, but don't worry about it. Just keep the thumb and the first finger together. It's really a kinesthetic anchor in terms of ability to reproduce whatever you're experiencing at a future date much more easily. And place your hands comfortably on the armrests of your chair or on your lap, and sit straight without slouching forward or backwards, with your head, neck, and spine in one line. And please close your eyes. So I would like you to close your eyes with your feet firmly on the floor, and with your head, neck, and back in one line, aligned with your spine. With your arms, your hands resting lightly on your lap, with the thumb and the first finger coming together in a circle. As you're sitting like this, inhale deeply. As deeply as you can from below your diaphragm, as deeply from your stomach as you possibly can. At the end of the inhalation, just hold the breath, inhale breath for a few moments, maybe a count of 2 or 3, 5, as long as you're comfortable. And exhale, exhale slowly, gently. Exhale completely. At the end of the exhalation, with the exhale breath completed, just hold your breath for a few moments, maybe a count of 3 or 5, as long as you're comfortable. And now start again the deep inhalation, as deep as you can. Continue this process of inhalation, holding the breath, exhalation, and holding the breath at your own frequency, at your own comfort, at your own rhythm and pace. And as you continue to do this, inhaling, holding, exhaling, and holding. Visualize the air that you breathe not as a mixture of chemicals, but as a vital energy of prana that sustains you. That's the difference between life and death. And that's the energy of the universe, which is being transferred to you as your inner energy. And as you inhale, visualize that you are inhaling the energy of the universe into you. So feeling lighter, refreshed, regenerated, re-energized, a new person. And as you hold your breath for a few moments, allow that energy to spread to every part of your body, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes and your feet. And then as you exhale, Allow the energy to move out of your mind and body matter, spread outside, expand into the energy space outside. As you then hold your exhale breath, allow yourself to become one with that energy. So with each breath that you take, you hold and then you expand. Keep expanding more and more into the space outside, into the energy space outside, becoming one with that energy. So you're no longer contained within the mind-body space, but you are floating as a wave, not contained as a particle, into this beautiful energy space of the universe outside you. Visualize yourself expanding and expanding as you breathe out and hold into the space of this universe. Beyond the room you are in, beyond the city you are in, beyond the continent you are in, beyond this earth, into the larger universe, beyond the solar system, as one with that energy. Inhale deeply, visualizing this beautiful energy coursing through you. As you hold your breath, allow that to spread to every part of your body. And as you exhale, keep expanding, keep expanding. And as you hold, feel that you are one with the universal energy. And as you do this, you're becoming more and more aware, more and more relaxed, getting deeper and deeper into your own energy space, which is the same as the wonderful cosmic energy space. As you are in this beautiful space of energy, as you are in the state of expansion as energy, continue to breathe in the background. Inhale, hold, exhale, and hold. Gently shift your attention to the top of your spine, in your head, the back of the head towards the top of the head, what I term as the center of the head, the crown of the head. And as you are focusing on this space, lightly, try and experience any energy movements in your crown. It may be a rustle, it may be a mild movement of as if a hand crawling, it may be a pulsing, it may be a throbbing. Whatever that energy movement is, as you focus on the top of the head, as you bring your awareness and attention to the top of the head, just try and see, is there an energy movement that I experience? If you can, it's wonderful. If you do not feel anything, not to worry about it. With practice, you will. Just be aware, bring your attention to that point on the top of your head. Slowly and gently, shift your attention to the point between your eyebrows, the third eye, the middle of the forehead. And again here, as you watch the middle of the forehead, between the eyebrow, try and experience any energy movement there. A throbbing, a pulsing, a pounding, maybe a crawling, anything at all. It may feel as if there is blood pounding at that point. Whatever it may be that you notice, experience that. Become aware of it, and if you do not notice anything, that's fine too. Just bring your awareness to that point between the eyebrows, the Eye Chakra. Slowly and gently move your attention down to your throat, the Vishuddhi Chakra, the Adam's apple, and see if you can experience anything at all. maybe a pounding, maybe a beating, maybe a throbbing, a crawling, whatever that experience is. Just stay with it, become aware of it, become conscious of it. And if you do not feel any energy movement, that is okay too. Slowly and gently move your attention down to your heart region. And here, when you focus on your heart, listen to your heart as it were, you may be able to experience the heartbeat, the pulse, a throbbing, a flow, anything that you feel, that's fine. That's a movement of energy at that point. And if you do not feel anything, that's okay too. Gently, slowly move your attention down to your navel area. And as you focus on this area around your navel, below the solar plexus, the diaphragm, again, try and see if you experience anything, perhaps a churning, perhaps a throbbing, or it may be, as yet, no experience, that's okay too. Gently, slowly move your attention down to the groin area, the sacral area, and feel whatever energy that you can feel. It could be a throbbing, it could be a crawling, it could be a movement. Whatever energy that you feel at this point, just stay with it. And then move your attention down to the perineum point, the lowest point of the spine, where your thighs meet the trunk. And see if you can experience any energy movement there. Again, maybe a throbbing, maybe a pulsing, maybe a crawling. Any kind of an energy movement. Try and experience what you can. As you are focused at this point, the place where your inner energy resides, the Kundalini energy, at the root chakra, the Muladhara Chakra. Just visualize a beautiful energy in the form of a ball of energy and light. They go together. And in that space, visualize this ball and allow it to expand, just like you expanded your energy space. As you keep breathing in the background, inhaling, holding, exhaling, and holding. Expand more and more in that energy. Allow that beautiful ball to radiate powerfully, warmly, joyously, bringing a smile and joy to your face. And as you experience this beautiful light energy as a ball shining from the Muladhara Chakra, the root center, allow it to gently rise up, shift to the groin area, and radiate from there. And as it radiates and expands, growing bigger and bigger every moment, bringing you great courage in terms of whatever you wish to do, dispelling all fears. Expanding the energy space of this chakra, the sacral center, the Swadishthana chakra. Gently allow that ball to rise up to your navel center, the Manipuraka. And as this beautiful ball expands in energy space, it dispels all your stress and anxiety. Feel yourself relaxing, completely relaxing, refreshed, energized. This center is the center of your power. It's the center of the fire in your system, fire in the belly. And expand And with your fingers folded together, the thumb and the first finger, you can at any point in time in future bring yourself to the same space and make yourself powerful, stress-free. Slowly and gently allow this beautiful ball of energy, the light energy, to move up to your heart center and radiate from your heart center, expanding in all directions. With you at the center of it, the ball of energy is expanding all around you, further and further into the larger space of the universe, in love and compassion, reaching out, building relationships, and allow that energy ball to move up to your throat center and expand from the throat center, radiating out, expanding in space, building your own confidence for you, your uniqueness, the need to be part of the larger system, that you see yourself in others and see others in you, feeling the oneness of everybody, and still be the core individual that you are. Allow that to move up to the Agnya, the third eye, the middle of your eyebrows. And in that space, as the beautiful ball of energy expands, feel the energy that you can do anything that you wish, as long as it's of benefit to you and humanity. That the universe will support me in anything that I do, as long as I do it with a feeling of service, of benefit to others, seeing myself in others and others in me. Keep expanding, keep expanding. Remove the ego, arrogance, move into the space of mindlessness. You are part of the universe, you are part of the energy. You are in that final state of merger with the energy space of the universe. And as you move into the top of your spine, the crown, the Sahasrara, where you become the energy. Allow that light energy to expand and expand and expand, you at the center of it, constantly expanding. Never static. Where your feminine and masculine sides come together and you're powerful and deeply compassionate. You know that you can do whatever you wish, and that will be in line with what the universe, the humanity needs. Embed that emotion, that concept with you. And if at this point in time, if you wish to seek anything from the universe, just create that intent of what you wish to be, what you wish to have, and what you wish to do altogether. And experience it as an achieved reality, requesting the universe to grant you that reality with a clear conviction that it will happen. Just place your intent of what you wish to be, wish to have, and wish to do for your own benefit and the benefit of humanity and the whole world, people around you. Once you have placed it to the universe, offering it to the universe as a gift from you to the universe for it to return that gift, just let it go. If you can, picturize that intent as a reality, as a red balloon flying away from you joyously, knowing that Whatever you let go will be yours to keep. And offer your gratitude to the universe, that energy, for fulfilling whatever it is that you wish. That reality will be yours. Slowly and gently, just lower your head. Look down with deep gratitude and love. Open your eyes. Okay, take some time to move from this space gently into the reality of whatever you experience now. This is something that any of you can do at any point in time. This will be recorded. You will have that recording, so you can just use it as a guided meditation. There are other similar meditations which are available as well. You can go through them. A variation of this is basically a mixture, integration of breath awareness and body awareness. And this is what is usually taught in a more comprehensive manner, integrated manner, as Yoga Nidra. And this is also in a slightly different way practiced as Vipassana in a 10-day meditation. And in it took me about 20 minutes to take you through this. So in 20 minutes, if you can spare that time at least a few times a week, it's an extremely powerful exercise to be able to energize different parts of your body, different parts of your energy centers and emotional centers. And also, if you seriously wish to use it for purposes of fulfilling anything that you wish to have, do, or be, as I said, as long as it is something which is beneficial to you and other people, create an intent, create the intent as a reality, and leave it with the universe for its fulfillment. And you would be amazingly be surprised how often these come true. So I'll stop here. Priya, any comments? If there are any questions that are coming up, we'll answer them. Okay.
I think most people are just sharing their thanks and gratitude, Ram, for the meditation. I think that's pretty much it. No questions at all.
Okay, so let's leave it there. I think it's a good space to sort of close the session, because I do not really want to sort of get into a cognitive discussion on anything at this point in time. It is counterproductive. But feel free, any of you, if you have any questions, you can always post them. You can send them to Magda or myself or Priya at Coacharya.com, and we would be certainly getting back to you with any answers that you require. And those of you who would like to join the Create Your Future, again, go to the contact. There is a page, web page, which is for Create Your Future. I think Magda has already provided that link somewhere in the chat box itself. It is learn.coacharya.com, courses Create Your Future program, or just type in Create Your Future, you'll find it. We are doing it primarily as a service at a very nominal cost for certification and so on. So it's not really a commercial activity. We would like as many people to practice this and learn. So the very best to you. Thank you very, very much, Priya. All the best and take care. Yeah, you can increase it to more than 20 minutes. You can take 30 minutes. I normally go deeper into it, stay at each of those points longer for 45 minutes. It's up to you. It all depends on how much time you have. So I would say minimum is about 20 minutes. And you can also do the entire body awareness in Yoga Nidra. You go through about 108 points in the different parts of your body. There are multiple variations of that, but this is the simplest way that you focus on the energy centers. The only thing I would leave with you is, or couple of things. One is make sure that your spinal column is straight, because otherwise it'll block your energy, and even though it's a virtual energy. And the second is when you're doing it, I would, some people recommend it other ways, but I normally recommend you go from the top to the bottom, from the crown chakra to the bottom of the spine, and then go back again. Please always complete. Do not stop halfway. It is not good. It would block the energy at various points, and you may have difficulties, discomfort after that. So once you start it, make sure that you complete. Or you just focus on one chakra and focus on it. The most beneficial chakra to focus on and do that is the heart center. So you can just focus on your heart, and what in heart math they call it as a cardio breathing, a cardio awareness exercise. That is okay too. But otherwise, if we are doing the entire chakra cycle, start from the top, go through all the 7, the top of the head, the forehead, third eye, the throat, the heart, the navel, the groin area, and the perineum area, and go back again to the top. So 7 plus 4, reach the top. So will the recording, yeah, this will be available on YouTube, and I'm sure it's usually it's shared on the website. It'll come up if you go to the program, it'll come, or you can, it's already on the YouTube. Yeah, Magda said. So you can just go to YouTube, Coacharya, youtube.coacharya/Coacharya, and you would be able to get it there. Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks, Priya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks all of you joining. Thanks, Magda. Bye. Take care.